The ship Aurora's Whisper floated in the black velvet sea of space like a single candle in an endless cathedral. Its silver hull reflected faint starlight, and inside, the hum of the life support systems was the only heartbeat of the vessel. Commander Eli Marin sat by the viewing port, a cup of cooling tea between his hands. He had stopped drinking it half an hour ago, but he liked the way the steam rose lazily, curling like whispers that would never quite reach the ear. His crew, just 6 souls, was asleep. In truth, the ship was more automated than necessary, but that was the way humanity traveled now. Small crews, long journeys, quiet missions. They were on the edge of explored space, far beyond the last human colony. It had been nearly 3 years since Aurora's Whisper had left Port Cayley's, tasked with surveying this region for habitable worlds. But after 6 months, they had found nothing. After a year, still nothing. And now, on their 3rd year, Eli had stopped expecting anything but the same silence. He used to think deep space was loud, bursting with cosmic events, roaring nebulae, and the echo of creation. In reality, it was like a library at midnight, where the silence pressed against you until you could hear your own thoughts like thunder. Eli took another slow breath and gazed at the largest star in view. Pale gold, like a distant lantern hung for someone else's homecoming. It was around the end of the 3rd watch when it began. The first sign was so small it could have been a fault in the sensor feed. A blip, a faint, irregular pulse from somewhere ahead. Aurora's Whisper had drifted through static and cosmic noise before, but this signal was patterned. Too clean for random radiation. Eli leaned forward, fingers dancing across the control panel, isolating the source. A repeating wave. Faint, almost shy, not human. He didn't wake the others at first. Instead, he spent the next 2 hours tracking the signal, narrowing the range until the computer rendered an image. A lone structure drifting in orbit around a dead world. It wasn't large. Maybe twice the size of his ship, its surface dark and irregular, as if melted and refrozen over centuries. There were no engine signatures, no power systems, except for that tiny pulse like a heartbeat in sleep. Felt old. Older than anything Eli had ever seen. By the time Dr. Yara Tenen, the ship's linguist and xenohistorian, joined him on the bridge, the signal had grown a little stronger. She leaned in close to listen. "It's beautiful," she whispered, brow furrowed. Eli nodded. The pulse had a rhythm that almost resembled music. Not melody exactly, but the suggestion of one. Like a lullaby played on an instrument older than time. When they approached the structure, Aurora's Whisper slowed to a crawl. The dead world below was gray and cracked, its surface scarred with canyons and craters. No atmosphere, no life, just an empty stage for whatever artifact hung. The figure of light stood before them without casting a shadow. It seemed woven from threads of dawn and starlight, its outline shifting subtly with every heartbeat of the crystal. The Aurora's Whisper crew stood in a quiet circle, no one daring to move. "We are the Rememberers." The voice came again, soft as wind in tall grass. "Our people are gone, but we remain to tell their story, to anyone who comes after." Eli's throat was dry. "You've been waiting, all this time?" The figure's eyes, if they were eyes, gleamed faintly. "Yes, waiting, though we did not know who would come. Our task was simple. To keep the memory alive until the next voices could carry it onward." The chamber seemed warmer now, as though the air itself leaned in to listen. Yara stepped forward, her voice trembling with a mixture of awe and sorrow. "What happened to your people?" The figure's gaze lowered, and the crystal's pulse slowed. The sky grew cold. The stars we called home dimmed one by one. We had sailed the rivers of light for ages uncounted, but even rivers run dry. We did not die in war or fire, but in silence. One by one, our worlds faded into sleep, and our ships could no longer wake them. The words carried no bitterness, only a vast, ancient melancholy that seemed to stretch far beyond the walls of the chamber. "We could not save ourselves," the figure continued, "but we could leave behind this, our songs, our maps, our laughter, so that when the sky grew bright again for another, they would know we had once walked here." Rafe, who rarely spoke in meetings, broke his silence. Why us? Humanity's young. We've barely stepped beyond our own sun. The figure turned to him. Because you are here. You listened when the cold sky spoke. And you will travel further still. Your kind carries the hunger to see, to touch, to remember. That hunger is the only force that survives the dark. Over the next hours, the figure showed them fragments of its people's history. The walls of the chamber became windows, opening onto scenes of unimaginable beauty. Cities floating in clouds of violet and gold, their spires like crystal trees. Ships like silver leaves drifting through nebulae so vast they made the aurora's whisper seem like a grain of dust. Beings of light and shadow gathered in vast halls, their voices blending into harmonies that made Eli's chest ache. Each vision was accompanied by a soft undercurrent of music, notes that seemed to stir memories the crew didn't know they had, memories of standing under alien suns, of breathing air sweetened by flowers that had never grown on Earth. In between the visions, the figure spoke. We knew the dark was coming. We built these beacons, each holding a part of our memory. We placed them where the silence would not touch, where the next travelers might find them. How many? Yara asked. The figure's form wavered slightly. Once there were thousands. Now we do not know. Time erodes even what